We're from the Western United States. We've been together for about 25 years. We were living in Los Angeles at the time, and I said, enough is enough. We're done with this. We were purging our American lives at the time too, not wholly knowing that our destination was going to be Spain.
I remember the first thing telling Wade, thank you for this, because he really worked his rear end off.
So this entire property is 2,000 euros a month. I'm sure if you look for something like this in Marbella, it would be more like 3,000+ euros a month. Hey, Bruno, welcome.
Thank you very much.
I'm Wade.
Hi, Wade. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Jesse. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
We're very fortunate to have a huge outdoor space. We're really looking forward to some consistently nice weather so that we can entertain, have guests over, and have some great fiestas.
We were actually thinking of holding weddings one day. I'm kidding.
The outdoor kitchen was a huge plus for us because we do plan on being able to spend a huge amount of time outdoors. The house itself is beautiful, which we'll show you in a moment, but the inside is a little bit smaller than we might typically be accustomed to United States homes. But we know that really life in Spain is about living outdoors and enjoying the beautiful scenery and so forth. So the outdoor kitchen was awesome, and especially me being a chef, I look forward to learning how to cook all sorts of new Spanish dishes. One of my hopes are really to be able to master paella. We are very excited about this. Our secador, our dryer, which is really uncommon.
It was about after a week that we had been here and we started doing laundry and had to hang.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, I'm not doing this.
Feel area.
Absolutely. It's a great place to sit back, have a cup of coffee, enjoy, once again, the beautiful landscape. We have beautiful mountains, hillsides.
Olive trees, lots of olive trees.
And it's about the season that they're starting to come ripe and fall off the tree when they shake them. Well, and the cool thing about Casa Bermeja is they're known for their artisan goat cheese, as well as, not surprisingly, they have a renowned olive mill, which we're excited to go visit and taste some of the delicacies from that as well. But being a part of the community and doing something with whether it be olives or honey or cheese, I'm really looking forward to becoming a part of that community within Casa Bermeja to represent Casa Bermeja with some sort of great artisan food. We actually moved here just almost a month ago, so November 6th was when we moved in. Welcome, and that's our little scout.
It's okay. It's okay.
So we have a lovely living space, open concept, which was really great. So that once again, we did host a huge American Thanksgiving dinner. Had about 15 of our new Spanish friends, some of our boys, which I'll talk about in a moment. And we pretty much were in here, so it was a great space to be able to entertain, have great food, fully appointed kitchen, beautiful kitchen actually, and living space. And as you can see, we're ready for Christmas. One of the differences definitely is the induction, which is not so much a huge thing in the States. I'll tell you though, this was one of the biggest things, is the sinks. A lot of the homes and flats that we looked at, have one, maybe two small sinks. This feels like America to us. And then we come on down to the living areas, and we have one
nice big bathroom.
Yeah, it's a beautiful full bathroom.
Love the shower.
And then we have 3 really nice size rooms, honestly. So king size bed, we have one coming from America as well. We got that at Ollie Hop. That's one of our favorite little stores. But this is kind of the office and secondary room, and then an additional. So there's a total of 3 bedrooms, each appointed with heat and air conditioning, television, built-in wardrobe, which is amazing.
How much are you paying per month for this rent?
So this entire property is 2,000 euros a month. So it's pretty reasonable, comparative. I'm sure if you look for something like this in Marbella, it would be more like 3,000+ euros a month.
And did you have to pay a deposit?
Yes, actually there typically is a couple of different deposits that are included. One is kind of your first or last month's rent, and then there's like a guarantee. What also is really common is advanced rent. We've been together for about 25 years. We're from the Western United States. We've been fortunate to live in a majority of the big cities in the West. We had an opportunity to visit Spain for the first time briefly 3 years ago. We have hosted numerous exchange students from Europe. One actually happens to live in Malaga, so we came to visit, and we absolutely fell in love with Spain and the areas. This was an area that felt comfortable for us outside of the United States, and we look forward to migrating here in our retirement.
You were heading toward your 60s and living stressful lives on the West Coast. What was the exact moment you looked at each other and said, it's time to leave the US?
We both certainly were in stressful jobs and careers for 40+ years. It was honestly just about exactly a year ago that I was on a huge run of opening some new business, was traveling a ton. I came back home to where we were living in Los Angeles at the time, and I said, enough is enough. We're done with this. Let's figure out
Figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Happen.
That if we can afford to make it happen. I continued working for a few more months. I wanted to give ample notice, but that's when we decided to start the non-lucrative visa or NLV process.
When I contacted you, you mentioned that you had in mind moving to Italy, specifically Tuscany. But why Italy first, and what ultimately shifted your hearts towards Spain?
I think probably the Italy was me, because I absolutely love Italy. It's I think one of my favorite countries. But initially I wanted to keep working because I still was too young to retire. You know, I did 62 or 67 and I'm not quite there. When I realized that I couldn't transfer with my company to Italy because there's no tied affairs, then I was like, okay, well then we came here to Spain, and there was Costco, which that's the company that I worked for. And I thought, well, then I could transfer with Costco. But even then I wasn't able to transfer. So that kind of went away. But I also speak Spanish, so it was great.
We also, when we visited here, there was the history and the culture and the wonderful people, just like Italy. But what the difference was for us is that there was things that were familiar to us in America, things like an outlet mall, an IKEA, and as Jesse mentioned, soon to come Costco. So we felt like we could get that history and culture, and then when we needed to, we could go and have what is a familiar American experience.
So Wade and Jesse, you lived in Oregon, Idaho, Los Angeles, Hollywood. What aspects of American life were beginning to feel unsustainable for you?
It was a rat race. There was some specific things. The economy, the cost of living, especially in some of the big Western United States cities, is pretty horrendous. There also obviously is a little bit of political strife that's happening, which is pretty toxic in the United States. Now's the time to cut ties and come somewhere for us to also be closer to the numerous boys that we've hosted throughout our time.
You mentioned the boys. You hosted 24 exchange students from around the world. Those experiences influence your desire to live abroad later in life?
That was what made kind of our decision to come to Europe much easier, because we knew we had our first exchange student from 2010 had gotten married a year ago, and we came down for the wedding. Then we had another exchange student from the Netherlands that just had a baby about 3 months ago. So we were like, we're missing all this stuff by not being able to come every time we hear. Once we would live in the European area, we would at least be able to, hop on a plane real quick. Not a 10-hour flight, more like an hour or 2 hours. And so far it's been great, because we have been able to see like 3 of our boys in the month that we've lived here. So it's great.
Where are they, those 24 exchange students? Where are they?
All
Are they in
from
Europe, everywhere in the world?
So it's all in Europe. So Italy, we've got quite a number of Italian boys, Netherlands, Germany, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, here in Spain, so Austria even, Switzerland.
What made you choose the Malaga province, and specifically Casa Bermeja, where we are today, a small town that is just 30 minutes outside of the city of Malaga?
We really spent a majority of our time down here in Andalusia and in the Malaga area specifically. Again, we fell in love with it. Of course, the weather is beautiful. The people are so welcoming and warm. There's rich history here, as well as modern day amenities. And we decided that we would start here in Malaga. It also helped that we had some ties here. Even in the short time that we've been here, we've met numerous wonderful people, local people that have been very welcoming.
This house. And when we got here, we were like, oh, it's going to be gone. And it was still available. It's a small little village, but we know the butcher, we know the dentist, we know the vet for Scout. I mean, these people are really super nice. So,
and our landlords, Enrique and Anna, are just fantastic, and we've become already close friends with them. Not only have they been able to help us through some important things in registering with the town hall, getting set up with Correos, the mail, getting an appointment for our TIE card, all those things. They've been very helpful, but we've also had fun. We've gone out to dinners, we've explored the city as well as the town. One of the wonderful things, just as we were moving in, was All Souls or All Saints Day. And so we joined them in the village of Casa Bermeja, church service, and then a processional down a candlelit road to a beautiful cemetery, which I think Casa Bermeja is known for.
It's stunning.
And at night and all lit up. I mean, it was really heartwarming to know that this was a community that we would be a part of.
Did you do a scouting trip to Spain before coming to live to southern Spain?
Yeah, we had visited about 3 years ago, and we had seen this area. We did fall in love with the Mijas area and kind of the Costa del Sol, as well as Malaga city. So up in the mountains here in Casa Bermeja was a little bit new for us, and we really hadn't explored that until we found this house.
How does living in Casa Bermeja compare to the city lifestyle you thought you preferred?
It's definitely slow paced. You have to get used to different timing. Sundays, many things are closed.
Especially in a small town.
In a small town. Sleeping habits, eating habits, all of those things are very different for us than what our life was back in America.
I mean, we're used to eating dinner at 6, not 10. So, and
it really hasn't taken a lot of time, but we really do love it. I know I used to go to bed at like 9 p.m. and get up at 4:30 or 5. Now it's go to bed at midnight or 1 and get up at 8 or 9.
Yeah, it's very different.
Let's talk about the non-lucrative visa. When did you start the process, and what did the first week of paperwork feel?
We decided to start that process in January of 2025. Of course, it was a little low key to start with, and we knew that there were some things that we would need to gather. We did retain a wonderful immigration lawyer, and I'll tell you, I couldn't imagine going through the process without some assistance for many different reasons. But some of the nuances like renting and taxes here, she's been extremely helpful. When we got the list to start with, it was pretty daunting and overwhelming, all the things that we would need to get together. Another really critical and imperative part was the timing of everything. You would get one thing like a doctor certification in the United States, which was only good for 3 months. The FBI background is only good for 5 months. You've got to get an appointment before all of this paperwork starts to expire. We had to have tons of things translated, apostilled. I think the biggest thing was the whole financial aspect, how we were going to prove, because we weren't necessarily retirement age where we got Social Security or a pension. We did have a good savings, thankfully. We had numerous bank accounts and investments. So there was a ton of paperwork that we put together to prove all of that. When we went to the BLS appointment, we came with probably 2 trees worth of stacks of printed paperwork, just because we weren't wholly certain what it is that would be the sweet spot of what they were looking for. Lovely people at BLS once we finally got into the appointment, but once that happened, then it was a waiting period. And that was pretty stressful. We were untangling a long American life in the process of going through the NLV. It was
stressful. I mean, I think part of it is we also have a home in Las Vegas. So we were living in LA. We knew that we had to liquidate and get rid of everything that we could in LA to get to Las Vegas and do the same thing. Plus we had our cars. We had to get rid of our cars. We had to just downsize everything that we could. We made a shipping container to come here, which we still haven't arrived. We had to try to figure all that out and make sure that it was in the process time of this visa.
We were hopeful, but it's the first time we've gone through that, so we didn't exactly know what to expect. But we were having to pull the trigger on a lot of things without actually having the visa back from the consulate through BLS. So it was a little bit of faith. And at the end of the day, it all worked out perfectly. It did take a little bit longer. It did take 10 plus weeks. They had quoted us, it could take up to 12. So week 5, week 7, week 9 came and we were really nervous. But
because we had already sent stuff over here.
Things are already on their way to Europe. So
cars were sold. I mean, we were renting a car. So it was like, I'm hoping to God, I got rid of my Porsche for what? Nothing? I mean, that's kind of what it felt like. But then they came, and I was just like, oh, thank God they came. The visas came.
Yeah, so just be prepared. It's a little bit of stress, but I kind of use the old adage, no pain, no gain, and we are absolutely gaining at this point once we work through that.
Were you already retired when you applied, or did you have to quit jobs?
Yeah, we had retired. So we made the decision that we were done with work. Worst case, if we ended up having to retire in America, we would have, but our dream really was to come to Europe and specifically Spain and have a retirement life. So, this year has been a big transition for us, not only from work to retirement, but from America to Spain. But it's all been wonderful. Push through it. Despite the hurdles and the obstacles, the end result is absolutely wonderful, and we wouldn't have done anything differently.
Did being a same-sex couple create any concerns about the visa process, or did Spain feel welcoming from the start?
We really had no concerns about being a same-sex couple and going through the NLV process. We did ultimately end up submitting separately, although it would have been very easy to be able to do that, even not being married. just being together. There was some additional hoops that you would need to jump through to prove partnership, if you will. But Spain itself, we didn't have any concerns about that. We know that Spain's, again, very liberal, very welcoming. Even met some same-sex couples just across the orchard right here in small Casa Bermeja. We did have a little bit of a concern about a small village in town that has many generations and some older folks, just how welcoming they would be. But hands down, has never been a problem.
Yeah, everybody's so nice.
And we feel like we've really integrated,
And they've asked, oh, so who do you live with? Oh, we live together. Oh, okay. And you think, oh, they're going to freak out, but they're super nice.
You sold your cars and began cutting ties with the US. What did that emotional transition feel like?
Well, it was going through 40 years of life and knowing that we weren't going to take all 40 years of it to Spain. So there was a lot of soul searching on what was important to us. As Jesse mentioned, we did pack up some bins and a few minor pieces of furniture to ship over. And they did actually beat us to Europe. They still haven't made it to Spain, but we know that's coming in the next couple of weeks. We did sell our cars, and we were fortunate to sell them fairly quickly. When I sold my car, it ended up being to a Romanian couple. They turned me on to Revolut. I knew that having an international bank to be able to exchange and move money between the US and Spain or Europe was going to be important. And I'm so grateful. I was a little bit skeptical at first, like what is, Wise, N26, Revolut. I'm glad that I got that experience before I actually left the United States. Because it's been imperative
It really has helped a lot.
Yeah, transferring money from our U.S. bank account to Revolut, fairly reasonably priced, or the cost of that, into euros. Once we got our bank account established here in Spain, then it's easy to transfer money from the international online bank into our bank account. They're very conservative when it comes to banking in Spain, and so they want to know where that money's coming from.
Yeah, it was funny. It was like, we're retired. So how do you get your money? We already have money. We just have money from our
savings and 401ks and investments.
It's kind of weird to me. I feel like they didn't understand that. They were like, well, but are you getting money from the government? No, we're not getting money from the government. We're getting money from my own savings account, his own savings account. It was kind of weird to try to open the bank account even. That didn't make sense to them. But then it finally clicked, I guess, and we were able to do it.
Jesse, you speak Spanish. Did that change the confidence level or division of tasks in preparing for the move?
Me having Spanish, it actually helped us because Wade spoke no Spanish, and I speak Spanish, but it's not fantastic, but it was enough to get us through the bank, because we found out quite a bit of the folks here do not speak English. We're like, the first thing we were like, okay, do you speak English? And they're like, no. I'm like, oh boy, okay. Now I've got to think in Spanish. So it was great. I mean, I think having that really helped us navigate through the bank, helped us navigate through some of the situations that we've had in the city, to become the citizen of the Casa Bermeja. Even our landlords, they really don't speak English. So
what were your biggest fears during the months leading up to the departure?
Certainly just ensuring that the visa was going to be granted.
Well, yeah, when it had already come to 10 weeks, we're like, we're not going to get this. And here we are getting rid of stuff and doing all that stuff.
We were purging our American lives at the time too, not wholly knowing that our destination was going to be Spain. It was like, oh, we're getting rid of our lives, and we may end up still in America. That was pretty stressful for us. I'm a very planned and methodical person, and everything needs to work in the timeline that I expect it to. And that's where you have to have some patience. And so I'd say that was probably the biggest thing.
And you guys described the moment you landed in Spain after this enormous life transition. Like, what was the first thing you felt?
I remember the first thing telling Wade, thank you for this. Because he really, really worked his rear end off with the attorney, with all the different things that I was just more like, we'll just do it when we get there, But it was great because we had a long flight with my dog here. So I was kind of worried about my little guy. He'd been on a plane for almost 13 hours. He did really good.
How was it bringing your dog to Spain?
Actually, it was easier than what I thought it was going to be. First of all, you definitely have to go to your vet prior because you've got to get stuff stamped. And that's also a timely process. It can't be any more than 10 days before you leave the United States. So we literally were 9 days. When we left, it was just barely the 9 days we had already wasted to get him here. It was a little stressful because we thought that maybe he would have to be underneath the plane, but it was able to work out that he was small enough that he could go underneath our seats. And he did pretty good. I mean, I was more worried that he might, have to go to the bathroom in those 13 hours, but he did really well.
We did look at numerous airlines,
yes,
and a majority were going to require them specifically for the transatlantic part of the journey to be underneath. And that was a whole dynamic because for us coming from Los Angeles, we did want to have a layover on the East Coast, and there were timing requirements. So he was going to have to be at the airport in LA 4 hours prior to our departure. There was going to have to be a minimum 4-hour layover in wherever it was at the time we were going to go through JFK. And then however long it would take once we landed in Madrid for him to be off the plane. And we calculated it was going to be over 24 hours that our poor buddy was going to be in a crate. There was limited flights directly to Spain from LA. Iberia was one, and it was a little questionable whether they would allow him in the cabin. Where we actually ended up landing was with United, and they were wonderful. Had a layover in Dulles. He was able to be in the cabin with us the entire trip.
What were the biggest surprises, good or bad, during your first week living in Casa Bermeja?
Opening a bank account, getting settled with a rental property. We had quick on the agenda to purchase a car, let's just say that, because we had rented and we had intended to rent for about a month once we arrived here. But that was quickly coming to a close. So it was working through all of those processes, which were a little challenging. We also did get a little bit of help with some of our Spanish friends to work through some of the nuances. Within a month of being here, we've kind of checked all of those boxes. Now we're able to kind of relax a little bit and enjoy the Spanish life. Not to say that some of those processes that we had to go through is not a part of Spanish life, but they were different.
If you want to become and get into the Spanish life, you have to go through all that.
Specifically, the car and insurance, those were some big hurdles to work through. I'd intended, it's like, okay, I've got stellar credit score back in the United States. We obviously have savings, investment accounts, 401ks, and so forth. Little of that means anything when you get to Spain, specifically credit score. We've met with our local banker who we've become friendly with here, and it was a learning curve for her as well, just to understand what all that means. We're having to establish a track record of living in Spain and banking in Spain before we'll be able to even consider things like a car loan. If we want to get another car or a house loan or something along that line. So That was a big learning curve. The actual purchase of the car itself, it's like, all right, tell me where I wire the cash. And it's like, well, no, there's some rules and regulations. Where's your NIE card? Well, we don't have an appointment to even apply for that for another month. And then it takes weeks beyond that to actually get the physical card. So we weren't necessarily even to set up a SIM card, they wanted our TIE or NIE card. And it's like, what?
For our phones.
It's stamped right on our Visa, our NIE number, which is going to be the same number on the physical card when it comes. That didn't matter, where was the card? So there were some hoops to jump through and a large learning curve on what that all was about. But ultimately, it did work out.
Was it hard to find housing here in Spain? Was it complicated?
It's a very competitive market. Right now, there are lots of people moving to this area, expats from not only the United States, but Great Britain, Canada, Australia. So there's not a lot of readily available inventory. So you do have to kind of act fairly quick. We were very fortunate, and I think it's because it was a little bit out of the city area of Malaga and in the countryside outside the village of Casa, Bermeja, that this property was still available for us. It's the relationships. Even though I don't speak Spanish and Jesse does well to muddle through many conversations, just having some earnestness, being, upfront, I feel has been imperative in being able to have some of the successful experiences and hurdles that we've had to work through. We were fighting for this house when we got here. There were 2 or 3 other prospective tenants, but it was because of the vibe, if you will, between our landlords and us. They felt great about us and our story. We felt great about them. They chose us over some of the other prospective tenants.
Here, there's no things like eviction history or credit score or
There isn't.
nothing. You basically have to convince the landlords that you are good people and that you're going to take care
Yes.
that you're going to be paying their rent.
Yeah, there was a pretty hefty expectation on prepaid rent, which is very common in this area, as well as guarantees and first and last month's rent and things like that. It's a huge thing that you kind of need to be prepared for here.
Did they ask you for a default payment insurance?
That's another great question. We were prepared, and it was all a part of that conversation with the insurance carriers, which they never asked for. And we were kind of surprised, pleasantly surprised, believe me. And it's because I think laws have recently changed here that side more with the tenant than the landlord, and I don't blame them. It's quite frankly freaked them out. I think the owners of properties. And so they want that reassurance, because if there's a problem, they're going to have difficulty evicting somebody.
So how does Spanish housing differ from what you were used to in the US? Like design, size, amenities?
The actual housing itself was a little bit smaller than we had anticipated. We're fortunate that we found a fairly newer built home, like within the last 10 years, but it has a lot of great character. But really, in our mind, it's about outdoor living. Our home is about 1,100 square feet, and it's 3 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a great living space. Even though it's winter, we do know that in the summer we're going to be, spring, summer, probably early fall, we'll be spending a ton of time outside. So there's some outdoor spaces for storage, laundry. We do have a pool, and there's an outdoor bathroom for the pool, which is great. There's also a beautiful relaxing area. So I know that even though the space itself is going to be a little bit smaller inside, outside is really where we're going to spend a huge amount of our time.
If you had to tell other Americans moving to Spain Any tips, things they can do before moving to Spain and after they're here in order to have their bank account set?
Whatever you can do to establish a bank account before you leave the US in Spain. I know that there may be some challenges with being able to do that. That's something we would have definitely done different. And one of the first ones we went to was BBVA. Felt like, okay, not a problem, slam dunk. First thing we walked in, oh, you're foreigners? Oh, you got to take our health insurance. I'm like, how does health insurance even play a part in banking? We checked that one off, no way. Went to another, and the NIE card played a big part of it, which we didn't have yet. The TIA card was a requirement to even be able to get through online processes. Obviously, you're not going to get that until you come to Spain. So whatever way you can develop some sort or open some sort of an account, whether you come here and visit and you're planning to come back to retire, I would suggest that. International online bank is also critical. We have been exposed to Revolut. So we also know there's great reports on Wise and N26. It's imperative for us to be able to transfer fairly efficiently and low cost between our US bank account through Revolut and then exchange it into euros to then be able to easily and effectively transfer into our Spanish bank account.
Did you keep your American phone number for two-factor authentication? And how did you get a Spanish SIM card?
I think originally we would have been okay to just kind of completely ditch our US number and reestablish with certain contacts. But because we're renting our house and we did set up a small business, things like licensing and virtual mailbox, things like that were important, as well as I'm coming to find out, even like when you reset your phone and like Microsoft, needs to authenticate you or something along that line, keeping that US number was really imperative for us to be able to get those texts. And for the most part, I'd say 90% of them do come through. It also is an easy way to be able to call like a US bank number or a contact. We chose Google Voice because it seemed to be easy. It was $20 to port your number. So we had been with AT&T for years and years, $250 a month all in for phones and whatever. So once we ditched that, ported our number to Google Voice, at least I felt confident that we were going to be able to maintain that kind of connection with people that you can't just say, oh, call my Spain number instead. We did, though, felt it important to establish a Spanish number. And obviously we wanted cellular data and all of that through Spain. Unbelievable price difference. After all is said and done, like I said, the Google Voice was $20 one time. So we ended up with a Mobile eSIM card, and it cost us like $10 a month, including unlimited calls within Spain. We tried to get everyone filtered through WhatsApp that we needed to have conversations with or wanted to text with and so forth back home. But huge cost difference in that regards.
How does your cost of living in Malaga province compare to your life in the US? Like food, dining out, the utilities, transportations?
Unbelievable savings compared to the US. For us, like I said, about a 1,200 square foot rental home with a yard. In the US, specifically kind of in the LA area, would be about $3,200 a month. In Spain, we're paying about $2,300 a month. Here, we also have a pool and a beautiful yard, an outdoor living space. Utilities, somewhat comparable, about $300 worth a month in the US versus $200 a month. And we're just kind of starting to get started, so we'll see how that shakes out. I do know electricity is a little more expensive here in Spain and in Europe than it is in the US. Cell phone and internet, unbelievable difference. Minimal $175 a month for one person for all of that in the US, $50 a month in Spain. Car insurance, about $120 a month in the US, $55 a month in Spain. Health insurance, and that's another huge one. We were retired in the US. We did get pseudo-subsidized health insurance, but it was still costing about $550 a month. Here in Spain with private health insurance, which is what you have to get with an NLV visa, was $105 a month.
Per person?
Per person, yeah. So, and it is an annual policy that you pay all at once, specifically when you go through the NLV process. Food in the US, about $500 a month versus $200 a month in Spain. And we love to eat, and we're loving to try all the new Spanish dishes. So hopefully maybe that number will go down a little bit. But restaurants and entertainments, $300 a month versus $100 a month in Spain. And vet for our little scout here, roughly $125 a month, and that kind of is cyclical. We may go a couple of months without any cost, and then we have to pay $500. Here it's been about average $55 a month in Spain, so ultimately very reasonable. We did mention that we did have a one-time purchase of a compact size used car, fairly low mileage. We would have paid probably about $10,000 in the US for that car, and it cost us roughly $13,000 here. So I will say that auto expense or buying a car is more expensive here. We were at about $5,200 to $5,300 a month living in the US, comparative to about $3,200 a month living in Spain. And, you know, we do, like I said, we love to eat out. We love to have entertainment. We haven't really even started traveling a whole lot yet. We do have an expectation in housing, so you can certainly do it for less than that. If you're getting a small flat in Malaga and you can use public transportation and so forth, that isn't necessarily our case. But comparatively, it's about 40% cheaper in Spain than it was in the US, month-to-month living.
Have you found it easy to make new friends, Spaniards or other foreigners?
We're very fortunate that we got well connected right out of the gate with some close and important friends. I do believe that this area, the people are much more open, warm, willing to have off-the-cuff conversations with people. We're fortunate Jesse's a very outgoing person, so you know he won't hesitate to go and start a conversation with somebody, like at the Carnicerio or at the bakery. We did just recently have a American Thanksgiving celebration, and we had about 15 new Spanish friends. We did have a couple of our exchange boys come and visit us for that too, but we opened our hearts and our home to people. We're also very fortunate that while we were taking Scout to the vet, we ran into another same-sex couple that had just moved to the area, and they end up just living right down the street here from us, from the UK. And so we know that we're gonna leverage each other's experience off of this new Spanish life.
What do you miss the most about the United States, and what do you absolutely not miss at all?
We love Mexican food, so we really tried to get our fill of Mexican before we left the United States. Yeah. It lasted a little bit of time, and we were, really enjoying new Spanish dishes and so forth. And we've run across, don't get me wrong, some good Mexican restaurants here, just to get that good old street food, that's probably not good for you at all.
There's just a lot of choices in the US for every kind of food that you can imagine. I think some of the differences too is the grocery shops, the grocery stores. Just the variety of things that you can get in the US versus here. It's very different, but we're starting to learn. And I actually found Heinz mustard last night at Corte Inglés, so I was pretty happy about that.
Familiarity with navigating things in the U.S. Like I said, getting a loan, purchasing something,
Opening a bank account.
all those things we've done hundreds of times in the U.S. So it's very easy for us to know. It was the learning curve of what works, what doesn't work, what's acceptable, so on and so forth in Spain.
And what do you absolutely not miss at all from the US?
Sometimes, at least for me, it was a little bit more difficult to make meaningful relationships. I kind of mentioned the political environment is really strange right now in America. And not to say that it isn't strange in other countries, probably including Spain, but just not to have that kind of oppression in your face all the time. We definitely won't miss the cost of living, as I just outlined.
Los Angeles traffic, brutal.
Traffic is a different thing, yeah.
Brutal.
The traffic scenario in America in the big cities, even Dallas and San Francisco and Seattle are crazy. But I will say, be cautious, the drivers here are unique.
The roundabouts are a little scary.
Oh yeah.
If you could speak to yourselves 3 years ago, before you visited Spain, what would you have said to yourselves?
Don't wait. We're loving life here in Spain, and I know there's a lot of great adventures and experiences ahead of us. We have lots of places to still explore in Spain. I think had we been able to, we probably should have pulled the trigger a little bit earlier than we did. It was really important to be able to start living life, versus trying to further advance in a career or put more money in the bank. I would say don't hesitate to make the leap of faith to just come and make it happen.
And it is scary, but it's worth it. There were times where we're like, oh my God, are we doing this right? When you're selling your stuff and you're getting rid of your cars and you're getting all that stuff, preparing to come, it's like, are we making the right decision? But overall, when we got here and things start falling into place, it's perfect. We're loving it. Absolutely loving it.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest myth Americans have about retiring abroad?
I know that I've seen some various comments and stories here about being able to integrate. The people, the Spaniards in this area are wonderful. I don't think you'll have any problem making friends. But there's lots of coordinated activities to learn, meet other expats in the area and have activities, game night, tell stories, go out to some fabulous dinners. I would say that that's probably a bit of a myth.
What mistakes did you make during the visa process that others should avoid?
We did come with way too much information. I don't want to say don't come with it, but just don't be shocked if no one asks for any of that. They looked at our visa, got our stamp, and said, "Bienvenido to Spain," and we walked out the door.
Do you see yourself staying in Spain long term, maybe even applying for permanent residency or Spanish citizenship?
We look forward to renewing our visa and then working ultimately towards citizenship. And ultimately, we do want to purchase a home here. We do want to explore some different areas to make sure that this is the area that we want to land in. It's beautiful and we love it. I would say our life is in Spain now.